Everyone, and thank you for joining us today. We're going to wait just a few minutes so that everybody has a chance to join before we get started. So hold back for a minute or two, and we will be back and get started with today's lab. All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome. Thanks for joining us today for our IBM Web Methods Integration Hands-on Lab. Before we get started, I'm going to go over a few housekeeping items, and then we'll jump into the lab. On the right hand of your screen, you're going to see a few tabs. Any comments that you have during the session, you can use the chat tab for that. If you do have specific questions, please use that for the Q&A tab. If you do put a question in the chat, we're going to move it to the Q&A so that one of our experts can answer it there for you. Under the Documents tab, you'll find the Hands-on Lab Guide. I suggest you go ahead and open that now so that you'll be able to follow step by step during the workshop. And that's it for housekeeping notes. So I'll go ahead and introduce you to Omar, our solutions architect for Web Methods, and he will start off with a presentation. All yours, Omar.
Thank you, Emma. Just going to make sure that I can share my screen here. Just give me a second. All right. I think we can get started. So I think everybody can see my screen. Okay, good stuff. Let me just get organized. Just give me a second. All right. So, well, first of all, thanks everybody for joining our session today. It's going to be an interesting session where we'll be talking extensively about the IBM Web Methods capability, especially around integration. If you have any questions, please make sure that you ask those questions in the Q&A, as Emma mentioned, and we'll just go through it and have a good time. All right. So before we get started, I just wanted to bring up, the team here that's here to support you, and just wanted to take a minute to introduce everybody. So as you can see, there's a bunch of different people who are here to assist you and help you and work together with you to ensure that you get a good experience, a hands-on experience with the solution. And everybody here brings special capabilities and special experience to the table. So please make sure you ask questions, and we'll make sure that we have answers for you. All right, so I wanted to start off with how the cloud has evolved over the many years. Now, we know that cloud as a concept has gone through different phases, and depending on where you are, what kind of business you're in, you see that cloud is trying to meet the business and technology challenges. And where we were in the past, from an on-premises perspective, we had data centers, to where we are now in terms of the public cloud, and we are moving quickly to hybrid cloud and as well as to multi-cloud, right? Where organizations have multiple cloud providers, and they work with not just necessarily moving workloads to the cloud, but also having dedicated applications that you're using dedicated in the cloud. Now, what we see is 78% of those organizations have revealed that they now deploy their applications on multiple infrastructure as a service. And this statistic clearly demonstrates that the era and the time of multi-cloud is no longer something that you kind of see far off in the horizon. It's already here. However, 81% of those organizations also say that when it comes to working in the cloud, they encounter a lot of different challenges because there are issues with portability, whether it's related to data, whether it's related to applications, because the data resides in different locations, there are different apps in different locations, etc. And we also see that only about 22% of users truly utilize their integration solutions. And that applies obviously from a technical perspective, as well as from a non-technical user's perspective. Also, the utilization of integration solutions is at a minimal. So what does that mean? That while the era of multi-cloud is here, at the same time, it's also raising a bunch of different questions. And we know that first and foremost, from a business perspective, one of the biggest challenges we have today is to ensure that the experience when it comes to engaging with a certain business is top-notch. And that includes user experience within the organization as well as customer experience outside the organization. There's also the challenge of making sure that for this enhanced user experience, the connectivity is such where it's seamless. And whether it's on mobile devices, whether it's through the internet, whether it's through other devices, we want to make sure that the complexity and security of diverse connected ecosystems remains intact. And then finally, we also see that the integration solution that exists today, it kind of falls short. So we want to make sure that whatever solution organizations go with today, all of these business challenges are addressed. Now, why is customer experience critical? Why is it so important? Why does it matter? Because it's the only most significant differentiator that provides the competitive advantage for organizations today in the very competitive market. Now, to deliver these experiences, you need to set up different applications, different aspects, different elements that need to work seamlessly together to ensure that the customers get a seamless experience. Now, that includes APIs, applications, events, data, B2B partners, etc. Now, we see that integration is a solution. Integration is the answer to some of these challenges that the businesses are experiencing today. But at the same time, we also see integration as a problem because we see that there is a hybrid capability that's required with not just applications being on-prem, but being in multi-cloud. It could be private cloud. It could be on IBM's infrastructure. It could be on AWS. And all of this is distributed across a whole bunch of different geographies. Just going to take a quick note, checks if there's any other questions. Okay, no problem, no questions. So from a business perspective, when it comes to the chaos of connectivity, you've got these disconnected systems and data silos that create this chaos and prevents the business from unlocking the full potential of their data. Now, the cycle that you see here, it illustrates how this application devices and data sets, how this explosion of all of these different elements leads to a demand for a more digitally transformed set of technology. So while we rely on it, but relying on more point-to-point connections only adds to the complexity of this chaos, as well as this inefficiency. And that in turn creates further silos. So this underscores the key necessity for a unified platform that breaks this cycle and integrates activities, enabling businesses to unlock the true value of data that exists within a whole bunch of different apps, devices, data sets, etc. So to thrive in today's fast-paced business environment, integrating diverse applications and data sources across a hybrid multi-cloud landscape is critical. And you want a unified integration platform that simplifies complexities, that enables real-time data flow, streamlines the operations. And the approach that we are providing, that we're going to be talking about today, not only enhances the operational efficiency, but at the same time supports continuous growth and innovation, allowing businesses to adapt swiftly to market changes as well as stay competitive. So let's take a look at how IBM webMethods revolutionizes your approach to integration, wherein it enables the creation of a highly connected customer experience, employee engagement, and B2B interaction setup, all while minimizing any kind of disruption along the way. And IBM's offering brings together market-leading capabilities of webMethods and as well as stream sets, and it offers a combination of apps, integration, B2B, API, events, file-based integration, and we deliver all of these capabilities with a promise that you get a unified and a hybrid iPaaS capability. So, and from an iPaaS perspective, you have the ability to connect to SaaS applications. You have the ability to connect to a variety of different endpoints. We provide a whole bunch of pre-built connectors out of the box, and an environment that is really low code, no code. So it provides the ability for multiple different personas to kind of work together in the same kind of an environment. iPaaS integration is a SaaS-based offering, which runs natively on different platforms across different regions throughout the world. And from an integration perspective, it provides hosted engines for design execution as well as for monitoring of integration workflows. And we also provide access and connectivity to a wide array of SaaS-based applications for integration between cloud services. We also provide hybrid connectivity for integration with on-prem applications. And we also provide the ability for you to manage engines, whether you want to execute things locally or you want to execute that in a cloud of your choice, right? So we provide the ability to do both. Any questions so far before I move ahead to the next step of this presentation? Okay. All right. MFD. Jigan's got a question that we are not seeing the IBM B2B or MFD and webMethods platform. Yes. So we can talk, Jagan. We can talk about that in a little bit more detail around that question. On how a lot of the different capabilities from an IBM webMethods perspective, how does it all fit together? So what you see right now is the focus for us today is going to be around, integration, right, primarily, and that includes app-to-app integration. That's going to be our focus. But in subsequent sessions, we can also discuss other capabilities for IBM. All right. So in terms of what we provide a in the cloud environment that you're going to be experiencing today, we provide a set of services, and that makes administration, managing your environments, different types of integration, very simple and straightforward. And all the users who are part of this, who are going to be part of this environment, will see that they're able to manage their security policies, single sign-on environments. All of that can be administered from a single easy-to-use interface. We provide a very large set of connectors, 600 plus out of the box for fast connections to applications or to data. And we also provide a connector for ChatGPT, which is what you're going to be experiencing today. And you can also find a detailed list of all the connectors on our website. Our focus really, when it comes to integration, is not just around the citizen integrators, to the technical integrators, sorry, to be part of the integration story, but we also want non-technical users or citizen integrators to also play a role and contribute towards integration. And what that means is that we provide an environment where different personas can work together, so that where less tech-savvy users can also benefit from creating workflows. This concept of recipes that you'll be getting a little bit of a flavor today, which are reusable capabilities that can be shared across different teams. The workflows really are just drag and drop components that can be triggered through a website, for example, or you can also build actions and responses. And in addition to that, we also provide global error handling capabilities, so that if there are any issues or challenges, or if you want to meet SLAs, then those can be met by managing those errors or any issues that you face. As I mentioned, this entire environment is focused on creating a multi-persona environment. So wherein I just talked about citizen integrators becoming part of the integration workflow process. They also have the ability to build their own, but we also provide more technical interfaces for integration developers. So we provide the capability of flow services, which enables very complex integration functions to be built in a very simple low-code, no-code kind of environment. And these capabilities can be put together as reusable components to be shared with citizen integrators. So it really creates a very easy to use and a very an environment that different people can work together and share different assets together. All right, so we also provide, like I mentioned before, this hybrid capability, and wherein we have our some of our customers who are using our on-premise capabilities, they also have the option of exporting some of the functions and the maps that they've already built as part of their on-premise functionality into the cloud as well. And that can also be shared both with citizen integrators as well as with integration developers. I just wanted to bring in a quick customer story as well. And as you probably know, IBM has a lot of different customers in the space around webMethods. But I wanted to quickly talk about Unis, which is a logistics and transportation provider that operates in a number of different markets around the world. And Unis was going through a significant increase in their business, and that created a challenge for them because they wanted to communicate with a lot of different partners and exchange all of their business documents in certain industry formats, and whether it's with suppliers, subcontractors, etc. At the same time, they also wanted to integrate their internal systems with that data and with those applications. So their EDI processing system was unable to keep up, and they needed something that would fulfill their business needs quickly and efficiently. And that's where webMethods integration and B2B was able to provide that solution, where they could now easily connect their B2B partners, as well as the ability for them to bring in that data information for analytics purposes, for whether it's for their data warehouses or providing that information out to their warehouses in real time. All right, I'm just going to take in some initial questions, if there are any initial questions at this time. Okay, no initial questions at this time. All right, what are we going to do in the lab today? So the lab scenario that we've built for you guys is around Alchemy Shop, which is an online website where a retailer where users will be going in and reviewing their experience with Alchemy Shop. So you will be able to create a review through a simple website, and that we've set up specifically for this lab. And once the review is submitted, it will enable Gen AI to evaluate the response. And today we are using ChatGPT, but obviously there are other Gen AI tools that can be used easily, including IBM's own capabilities in this area. So you'll be creating that, and the way that it's going to work is from demo scenario perspective, you will be showcasing key capabilities that you will have hands-on experience with that for webMethods. You will get a chance to work with recipes, which are reusable components, as I mentioned before. You'll get a chance to work with real-time integration. You'll get a chance to experience how you can connect different applications together in a very easy to use workflow format. And there will be some reusable logic that we've built for you guys that's already enabled, so you'll get a chance to use some reusable logic. And at the same time, what we've also done right at the end, because it's an environment that we've built from a workflow process, very easy to use, very easy to build, we've also provided you with some ability to create APIs directly from within the workflows that you've already built. And so this is kind of the scenario that we'll be working with today. And if you have any questions, please do let us know. At this time, I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm going to pass on the baton to my friend Kiro, and Kiro is going to run you through the lab.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Omar, and thank you everyone for your time and interest in IBM webMethods integration. We're very excited to work with you in this hands-on lab session. Just FYI, today's session isn't just sit and watch kind of session. Today is going to be a hands-on work within the IBM webMethods integration platform. So we do encourage everyone to go ahead and go to the Docs tab next to the Chat tab, and you'll find multiple documentations there. I want you guys to go ahead and open and download the first two documents, which are the guide and the helper. And once you open those, when you open the helper, it will automatically open it in a web page for you. So we'll be using that during the hands-on lab session. And the hands-on lab guide, which is the first document, is a step-by-step of what we're doing and covering during our lab today. Before I get going, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Kirillos, and I go by Kiro. Hopefully that will make it easier for you to remember, Kiro, the hero. And I'm a solution engineer with IBM. And today we're going to be working together in our IBM webMethods integration platform. So before I get going, I see a couple comments and questions about our platform and how it works with other products within the IBM portfolio, and how our platform is dealing with other issues with other iPaaS systems and other clouds. These are very, very good points. And as much as we would love to discuss these questions and points on this call, we wouldn't necessarily be able to cover it this time because this is a very focused hands-on lab session. Although we do have other material available on our IBM site that you can access that talks, in details about how webMethods is positioned within the IBM portfolio and how IBM webMethods integration covers the problems with other iPaaS systems. And if you would like, Emma is going to go ahead and reach out to you to schedule further discussions with you. That way it's a specific discussion tailored to you that covers your own use cases. With that said, let's get going. In the beginning of the session, I'd like to just measure and see who is engaged with us. So if you're here, if you're going to be doing the work with us today, please go ahead and post an emoji, any sort of emoji. in the chat. And while you guys do that, awesome. I'm glad you got the guide. Great. Glad to see some engagement there. I love it. I love it. Woohoo! I'm glad everyone is excited because today you are going to experience firsthand how easy it is our IBM Web Methods integration platform is. And you'll be building a workflow that actually functions and does a specific job, as Omar explained a little bit ago. And it takes some feedback from a customer that processes it, that feedback, and sends real-time response based on the sentiment given by the customer, right? So with that said, let's get going. I'm gonna share my screen right now. So we can go ahead and get started. All right. So what you see on the screen now is the first view that you see when you enter the webMethods integration tool, right? You'll see a few projects laid out on one big screen. For you, you will only be able to see two projects. One of them is this hands-on lab project, and the other one will be named after your own username, right? And because I am an admin, I'm able to see all the projects, and that to just demonstrate how we are able to, manage, access to our different projects within the platform. That way, if you have different departments working on different projects and you are the integration admin within your organization, that way you're able to segregate access, give access to specific projects to different departments. That way, not every department has access to everything, right? So that just to showcase that we're capable of segregating access and management, right? Great stuff. So with that being said, let's jump to the hands-on lab project. And I will be working on this project myself, and we'll work together here in this lab. So please go ahead and enter your own project. I'm going to pause for a couple seconds so everyone is able to log in, get to the stage that we're at. And if you're following along, the lab guide that you see and have access to will give you a real-time screenshots next to the step that you're at. So that way you can see a visual of how things should look like, right? So let's go ahead and start creating a workflow. To start a workflow, you just simply go to the Add Workflow button, and that is on page number 7 on the hands-on lab guide. So go ahead and click plus, and you'll see different methods here for creating your own workflow, right? So the very first one is the natural text using AI sort of way to create your own integration. And you can go ahead and test that on your own time. But simply, you can use your simple words to create something from nothing, pretty much, where if you want to send an email when a note is created, you type that in there and you view the integration ideas. For example, it will show you that, hey, you can create a workflow when a node is created and you send an email, right? But in today's session, we'll be focused on creating a workflow from a recipe, right? And this is a very unique way to webMethods where you can create your own recipes. Let's say you have your own methodology or process that's standard to your own company that you want every single person who accesses the platform to start with this recipe. That way it meets your minimum compliance requirements, and then they add on to that, right? So you can go ahead and create your own recipe and publish it. That way your company has access to it and they start with it, which is exactly what we did today, right? And we will be using this moving forward in today's session. Now, if you don't have any requirements, or if you know exactly what you're going to be doing in the platform, you can absolutely create your own workflow from scratch, right? And this is obviously for more seasoned integration developers and admins who know exactly what they want and what they are trying to accomplish.
Hey,
So,
Kira, real
yeah,
quick. We have a number of people who are just having a little bit of issues logging in and some errors. Could we pause for a minute or two and just give
oh,
folks a chance to get in and catch up?
yeah, let's do that.
And everyone, make sure, like Jaleh said in the chat, the project that you're clicking on is the one associated with the username you were given. That should help some of the issues here. And then folks who are having issues with logging in, if you go back to that email I sent last night and reset the password, even if you already did it, if you're having troubles logging in, maybe try doing that again. I don't know, Kira, if you have any other ideas to help with the login problems.
So resetting the password should be the easiest way to regain access, but that could take a little bit of time to get your reset password email.
Great. So I think that'll solve the two issues in the chat. So folks who are having issues logging in, reset the password, should be good. And then folks who are getting errors, permission errors, just be sure you're using the project associated with your username. So maybe another minute or so, Kiro, and then you could continue. Hopefully people will be caught up.
Yeah, totally fine. And just FYI, everyone, the two projects that you have access to are, one of them is a read-only project, which is this one. 1 second. The one that's called Hands-on Lab. That is a read-only project where you will not be able to add any additional workflows to. The only project that you will be able to write to is the one that's associated with your user number. And that's correct. We are creating a workflow from a recipe, yes. If you were having issues logging in or any other issue, and now it was resolved, please give us a heads up in the chat. Awesome. Thank you, Motasim. Thank you, Steph. Glad to see it working for everyone. Awesome. Great. Awesome. Sandeep, we are about to restart, and I'm going to guide you through that in 1 second. Awesome. Let's get back to our lab. So once you enter your own project, once you click Add, you check Recipes, you will find a whole lot of recipes out there that you can choose from. If you are following along with us in the hands-on lab guide, at the end of page number 7, you'll see in step number 5 that we are going to look for a recipe that has the word webhook. And we're going to click enter, and you will choose the very first option that comes to you, right? And it will say this is integration recipe to start with webhook and global error handler, right? So you will go ahead and click use recipe. And once you click that, it will give you a window to select which project you want to import this workflow to. And from the drop-down menu, you will only have pretty much one option for you, since you only have access to write to one project. So go ahead and select the project name that's associated with your username. And for me, since I'm the admin, I'm going with the hands-on lab, but you go ahead and select your own project that has your username on it. All right, we'll click done. And once you click done, we'll ask you to give it a name. I'm gonna give it a hands-on lab. Today is 11/7. And I'm gonna keep the description as is, and I'm going to go ahead and click import. All right. And now it will take you automatically back to your own project that you imported the workflow to. And you'll see it right there in front of you, named however you named it. So go ahead and click edit. And once you select the edit, it will bring you to the main page where most of the action happen, right? So this we call the canvas, where you create, adjust, modify any workflows that you are working on. You do most of your configurations here, and this is where most of the magic happens. All right, so once you're here, we are going to go ahead and configure the webhook, where we want to access this workflow through a link from somewhere in the web. All right, we want to give it an endpoint that we're able to access it through the web. So that webhook is called a trigger, and that starts the workflow if that URL was accessed somewhere in the web. Now we can leave it as is, unauthenticated, or we can add an additional layer of authentication. That way we make sure that those who access the URL are only those who are authorized to access the webhook, right? So we're going to go ahead and select webhook key, and we're going to generate a token and make it visible by unselecting the I, copy it, right? And then The other document that we will be working with is called the helper, which I asked you to open in another window in the beginning of our lab. Will look something like this. All right. You will find two tabs here, one that says configuration and the second one that says write a review. So under the configuration tab, you will go ahead and say under the webhook token, you will paste the value that you just copied from your workflow. And we'll go back to the workflow and copy the value of the webhook URL. We'll go back to the configuration helper here, and we'll paste that right here. Please make sure to copy your own webhook URL and the token into these values right here, into these places. That way, when we move forward and write a review, it submits the exact information back to the workflow. That way, it doesn't give you any sort of error. All right. Now that we pasted everything here, I want you to go back to your workflow. And once you're back, we are going to go ahead and click done. Now I do have a webhook that's configured. I'm going to just make sure that my configuration here is correct, and then I'm able to access this flow service from the web. So to do that, I want to make sure I get a static statement that says, hey, your configuration was correct and so forth. So I'm going to go ahead and select or double click the return data on sync webhooks tab. So double click this and click next. And the data that I want to send back as a response, I want to send a statement that says, thank you for your response, right? So I'm going to go ahead and click next. And in this step right here, I want to make sure I test it. Okay. So I'm testing this. And right here, you'll see that the output is sending a thank you for your response. So go ahead and click done and save this. All right. Now that we configured the webhook on webMethods page, we're going to go ahead and test this. We want to make sure that we're able to reach that link. So we're going to come back to the integration helper and go to the write review. Before I write a review and submit, Smita, what step exactly did you miss? Awesome. I'm glad to see it. Now, back to writing a review. I'm going to say testing the connection. Okay. Submit that. There we go. Now, we've gotten a submission that says, I'm testing the connection, and the response said, thank you for your response. Just as expected. And Michael, thank you. Yes, you need to request the course access. So before we get to that step, in section 4.3 basic flow test, you'll see that there is a temporary course access. You need to click that link. It will take you to this page. And you need to request temporary access to the demo server. That way you are able to get the results as expected. Once you do that, you can go back to the helper and then submit your own review as we just did. Fantastic. Now, what we did was we configured a workflow, just a very basic workflow on the webMethods server. That way we're able to access it from anywhere on the web, right? And we want to make sure that whenever we submit something, we get the result that we expected, just as we saw here. If you are looking for the helper, which you will be able to get through the docs next to the chat tab, just where you wrote that message, right next to it, you'll find a tab that says docs. When you enter that tab, you'll find a document called helper. Click that to open, and it will take you to a document that looks like this. Right here, when you scroll down in section 4.3, you'll find it says that you can request temporary course access through this link. You can click on it. It will take you to this page. Then you click request temporary access, and Vikas, make sure you save your workflow before you test it. All right. Fantastic. Now that we tested the workflow, we're going to go ahead and make it a little bit more sophisticated. That way we actually test that whenever a customer submits a review, they get back an actual response to their feedback, right? So let's go ahead and work to do that. All right, so we'll go back to our workflow, and the first step to do is we're going to break this connection. So I want you to come over that link right here, click on it, and just go ahead and delete that. All right. And on the right side, where you can look for a connector, I want you to look for ChatGPT. We'll go ahead and click, drag and drop this connector next to our webhook trigger all the way to the left. Once you do that, it will automatically connect to the previous step. And once you do that, the next step is to actually configure that connection. So I want you to double click that, and you will see this screen pop up. And from the select action, you want to select that and find create completions. Once you select create completions, you can give it a name. I'm going to leave it as is. And when you connect to a ChatGPT, right, you can select that plus sign and give it a name, and it will ask you for an API key. At this step, I want you to go back to the helper that we have open in another tab. And in section 4.4 ChatGPT connector, you will find that we have provided you with a temporary API key that you can use for this lab. And you can go ahead and copy that from the copy button. It will tell you it's copied. You go back to the workflow. I want you to paste that. You select add. It will give me a status here that the account was configured successfully. All right. Once I do that, I select next, and it will give me a few options that I need to configure. Now, most of these configurations, or the important ones that we need, are available for you right here under the helper. So for the model, we're going to go ahead and copy that from here, go back and paste it under the model. Then go back to the helper, right? We can copy this, the prompt, and paste it here. Go back to the helper, copy the temperature. Some of these may seem unnecessary, but these are requirements by OpenAI to actually get a response. So please make sure that you fill these values as shown. P is 1. All right. Now, from the helper, I copied all these values and got them here. All right. I'm going to go ahead and click next. Now, I want to go ahead and test this action. This is the input I'm sending to a ChatGPT API. I'm going to test it. And then this is the response that it's given me. Now, every response that comes from ChatGPT will be in the shape of one single sentence that's divided by a pipe character. So it will give me the sentiment and a pipe character, and then the response that I'm sending back to the customer. So I'm going to go ahead and click done. Now I do have a ChatGPT connection established. All right. I'm going to take a second here, take a pause, just to make sure that everyone is caught up, and then we can move to the next step. Motasim, it's a great question. I'm glad you're paying attention. And that was my very next step that I'm going to show you. So now we have a connection established to ChatGPT. Now I want to pass the review that I'm receiving from the customer to ChatGPT to actually analyze and respond to. So to do that, I'm going to double click the ChatGPT connection. I'm going to click next. And from the left side here, under the incoming data, I want you to expand the request webhook under the body, under the prompt. So this is the review that's incoming from this page right here, right? Whenever I write a review, it gets passed all the way till here, right? So I do want to add that to the prompt that I'm sending to ChatGPT. So on the right side here, in the prompt section, I want to scroll all the way to the right. And after the period, I want to come all the way here. And then I'm going to drag and drop this guy right here. And let's make sure that we put that in quotation marks. That way it's separate from my previous statement. So it should look like this. When you look at it, it should be the request prompt in between quotation marks after the initial value that I had in there. All right. Next, I can also test that again. and then click Done. All right. Good stuff. Now, I want to test that I actually get an actual response from ChatGPT to whatever review I'm submitting through the page. So let's go ahead and connect right here. On the right side, when you hover over the ChatGPT step, you'll find the dot. You can drag and drop it to the next step. And right here on the return data on webhook, double click that, go to next. And instead of sending a static response data, we can immediately send what ChatGPT is giving us. But that wouldn't necessarily be the smartest thing to do, because that will have the sentiment and it will just look not right. It wouldn't look as it should be looking. Like, it would tell the customer, oh, your review was positive. No customer want to hear that, right? So before we get to that step, let's go ahead and clean that up a little bit. So we'll delete that connection and we'll add a few extra steps in here. But before that, let's grab a few things from before. Let's save the connection and let's go back to the main page. Once you connect this, you click save, you go back. All right. Once you're back to the main page, you will find that when you switch back to the read-only project that you have access to, which is called Hands-on Lab, when you go there, I want you on the left side to go to Flow Services. And once you go to Flow Services, you'll find two flow services that are available to you here. And these were made as a kickstart for you to help you to separate the sentiment from the response. So we'll go ahead and hover over this. You'll see three dots here. Click that and say export. Once you export that, it will be saved to your local machine. And once you save it, I want you to go back to your own project that you have access to right to. So from the top left here, you can navigate quickly to your own project that has your own username. In my case, I stay here because I'm the admin. And on the top right here, you'll find a button that says import right next to the search bar. And when you click import, it will ask you, what do you want to import? And I want you to import the flow service that you just exported. Now, what we're doing is we're getting this flow service from another project, importing it to your own work, right? And once you import this, we can go ahead and navigate back to the workflow that you've been working on. And now you can go ahead and click edit. And now we go ahead and get that flow service that we imported into the workflow that we're working on. I'm going to take a second here before we jump to the next steps to make sure that everyone is caught up. Great. Now, when you're back to the workflow, let's go ahead and get rid of this connection. So delete that. And on the right side here, you can go ahead and, oops, not this one, my bad. Accidents happen. We'll delete that. We'll go ahead and look for check sentiment. When you search that, you will bring the flow service that you just imported. You'll find it right here. Now we drag and drop it under the Chat GPT step, and it will automatically make a connection between the two. So you can go ahead and double click the check sentiment. We'll give it a name if you want, and then we'll click next. Now, what we want to do is we want to split the message that we get back from ChatGPT. So we want to do a little bit of transformation to that data. So under transformation here on the left side, so you'll find the incoming data, you'll find the second one that says transformation. Expand that, and then you won't find anything. So we'll go ahead and add a new transformation, right? So we'll give it a name as, split message. Okay. And from the transform data, we'll select tokenize. Now, based on tokenization, I'm going to go ahead and split the message I'm getting back from ChatGPT. Now, the string I want to split will be the message I'm getting back from ChatGPT. So on the left side, I can expand the create completion step, which is the ChatGPT 1, expand the data, then expand choices, and the text will be the answer that you are getting back from ChatGPT. So you want to go ahead and drag and drop that into the string. All right. And now the delimiter, how do you want to split that message? And the way we were going to split it, we're going to use the pipe character that we asked ChatGPT to include in the response to actually split the message that I'm getting from ChatGPT. And we're going to click done. Now, the value that I'm getting, I'm going to pass it to the input text so I can clear it out. Then I'm going to click next. Now, when I test it, something is not correct. Right. That. There we go. All right. Now, it's given me a sentiment as an output of the check sentiment that it's a neutral sentence or it's a neutral response, right? And then it automatically assigned it a color based on prior configurations as white. And we'll see what that does later on because, what we configured it in a way where when a customer gives a good review, they get a green background to the response. If it's a neutral, they get a white background. If it's a bad review, they get a red background, right? So we'll click done here. Now, anyone have any question? I think the error was just the data wasn't passing through, so I just retested it. Steph, just to answer your question. Okay, great. Now, let's say I want to notify my customer success manager or customer satisfaction manager of receiving a new review on the product, for example. So I want to go ahead and send a notification to them saying, hey, we got a new review. So let's go ahead and find an email step. So when you look for an email, you'll find this tab right here that says send the email. And click send email, double click that to configure it, click next, and then you get to configure this right here. Now, this can be any value you want. Here, you can put your own email address. That way you can actually test that you're getting an email notification, and I encourage you to do so. So I'm gonna go ahead and put my own email address in here. All right, you can CC whoever you want, and you can give it a subject. I'm gonna give it a subject as customer feedback received. All right. And obviously you can give it a body type if you want it to be an HTML or a text. I'm gonna go with a text. And for the body, I am going to say a new customer feedback has been received. Please check Google Sheets for more details. All right. And I'm going to go ahead and say next. Now this should be the input, and when I test it, it's giving me a success status that, hey, an email was sent for this test, right? And once the email comes to me, I will pop it here for you to see that it actually came through. All right, I'm gonna click done here. Now, anyone have any question? Nicholas, so let me give you the page we're at. So after that, if you're following with us in the hands-on lab guide, you'll be able to easily navigate the steps after this. That way we don't hold everyone here, but we can take a second here to let you catch up. All right. Now, let's say I want to actually save all the responses that I get. That way I go back to them and review the responses that I get at any given point. Let's say I want to analyze the responses. I want to, take them up to a C level, whatever the use case is. So let's go ahead and record all the responses onto a Google Sheets. So on the right side, look for a Google Sheets. And when you find that, drag and drop it on top of the send an email. It will automatically connect. And then double click that to actually configure it. Under select action, you want to go ahead and select add row. So it's given it a name to add a row. All right. And under the authorization here, you will not find anything that's pre-authorized for Google Sheets. But on the plus sign, before you click it, please don't click it yet. Just hover over it, right? So when you actually click it, as you saw there, it's just giving you how you can create your connection with Google Sheets. So when you click that, it will give you a bunch of fields here to fill. So all these values are going to be on the helper document that you have. So go back to the helper document under configuration, and then under section 4.8, logging all data, you can go ahead and copy and paste all these values in here. And I will go ahead and give you a second or a hot minute here to actually do that. All right. Once you configure it, you can select it from the drop-down menu, and then you can select Next. Once you get to this step, on the right side here, under the spreadsheet ID, when you use the drop-down menu, you'll find two spreadsheets. Please select the webMethods, the first one, WM Hands-on Lab. And then under the sheet name, find the workflow completion. And what it does here is it auto-populates the column names from the Google Sheet that you want to record the data to. Okay, and you can actually see that if you go to the helper and you click the Google completion sheet here, you'll find that it has different columns, and that the column names match the fields that it auto-populated here on webMethods. Now what we want to do is map the data that you want to send to these columns in each row that you want to add to the Google Sheet. So under username, go ahead and add your own username or your actual name if you'd like. So I'm going to use admin for myself. And then under the customer review comment, you can get that directly from the request that we originally get. So under the request to webhook, expand the body, under prompt, drag and drop that to the customer review comment. And then if you want to record the ChatGPT response, from the left side here, we'll go to create completions, under data, expand choices, and we'll go ahead and drag the text into here. All right. And then under the sentiment, we already have separated the sentiment of the response or the review under, apologize, right here under the check sentiment, right? So we do have the sentiment of the review. So we can go ahead under check sentiment. We'll drag the sentiment right here. And the color, we can just record for, a nice add-on. And we can just skip the last one and click next. All right. Once you have everything configured, so that is the input that I'm sending to the Google Sheet. So should be from admin, I like this product, right? That's the response ChatGPT gave me, and then the sentiment of the response. I'm gonna go ahead and click test. Once you do that, it's giving you the updated 1 row, 6 columns, total of 6 cells, right? I'm gonna click done. Before I do anything, I actually want to see it. Oh, look at you guys. Everyone is adding to the Google Sheet. I love it. All right. You see now all your responses are being recorded here. And the more you add, the more it gets, right? All right. Now, let's actually do the final step of this lab and connect the Google Sheet to the return data on Sync webhook. And what this does is I want to actually configure the right data that would get returned to the customer when he sends a review, right? So let's go ahead and do that. We'll connect this step, and double click the return data on Sync webhook. We'll go to next, and I'll be presented with this page. We've seen this before. We know what to do. But before we get moving forward, I'm going to take a look at the chat, see that everyone is caught up. Okay. All right. Now, we want to send back to the customer an actual response, not just a thank you for your response. We already have an actual response to that. All right, we'll delete those values. And from the left side, I want you to go ahead and drag and drop the sentiment from the left side. So we do have the sentiment here under check sentiment. I want you to go ahead and drag and drop that to the response data. Okay. Now it's in one line. I want you to click right after it and hit enter. So please, please, please make sure it's in a new line. So once you click enter, from the left side, we're going to grab the separated message from ChatGPT. Remember the transformation that we did when we split the message? We're going to go ahead and drag this value list into this right here. And it should look like this in 2 separate lines. When I click right here, it should be in 2 separate lines. But I want this workflow to continue working and not just give me a one response to every single review that I get. So I want to make sure that the value that's being sent back to the customer is an array based on their review. So to do that, in the response data field, when you click on the transform value list, towards the very end after the word list, right before the parentheses or the bracket, I want you to go ahead and add open bracket 1 close bracket. That way we make it into an array, and it should look like this. All right, we'll click next and we will test this. It gave me a 200 and I'm going to click done. I'm going to go ahead and save this. Before I do anything, I'm going to click the gear button up top under the execution settings. Make sure that all are checked except for retry execution failed actions. And then we'll close and save if it's still blue. And now it's good to go. It's actually good to be tested. So to test this, we are going to go back to the helper document and scroll all the way up to write a review. Let's say I'm going to give it a good review. I really like this product. And I'm going to go ahead and submit it. Something is not correct, right? Okay, I'm gonna just copy the values again. Quickly here. Then this guy. Done. Okay. And then the return data. Okay. Next. All right. All right, let's try. All right, that is very odd. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and post another link in the chat. That way you're able to, yes, actually, let's make sure the course is requested and review submission. Yeah. All right, let me give you another link in the chat here. 1 second, it will look a little different than this. One second. Apologies for the delay. All right, well, let's test it right here. Let me paste the link to the chat. So in the link that I sent you, you can go ahead and click that. it will take you to this page. And let me also give you the course. Make sure that you go to the course and request temporary access on the same browser. I'm gonna do this. Okay. And then on the page here, we'll provide the workflow URL. Okay. Copy that. It's this guy here. And then the token, we'll copy that and paste it here. And then right here, we'll submit the review. Really like this product. All right. When I go ahead and submit, no, okay. I think I'm running through an error here. Just 1 second. Okay. Let me make sure I didn't miss anything here. Apologies for the delay here. Found it. So right here in the check sentiment, and that's a mistake on my end, I apologize for that. Right here, we didn't make the check sentiment an array. And if you go back and actually go to check sentiment step, when you click next, and right here in the action configuration side, if you click on the value, let's make this an array. So open bracket 0, close bracket. And we'll click next, test that, and click done. And we'll actually save that. All right. Can go back here. Same response I have. When you submit that, it should be fixed. There it is. Now, it populated a review and it says, thank you. Let's say I dislike this product. I'm gonna give it a 1 star. There it is. It's giving me an actual response. I believe if you're getting a course error, you need to just close the page and open it again and request access, because we've been working more than 60 minutes. So I'm assuming that your access was terminated. All right. With that being said, I'd like to thank you all for all your participation. I would like to make sure that if you have any questions, please feel free to reach back to us. If you'd like to connect with us on LinkedIn, myself, Omar, Jolly, Scott, Francis, Emma, that way, if you have any further questions, please do not hesitate to reach back to us. Omar, Emma, back to you.
All right. Perfect. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Kiro, for that amazing lab and helping everybody follow through. So as a next step, we just want to make sure that you are signed up to our webMethods Tech Exchange community. And this is a community where you will find information across user groups. So you'll be able to find information on different events, and you'll be getting a chance to speak to some of the experts in the industry who know a lot about webMethods and its capabilities. As well as you can scan this QR code if you want to. As well as please make sure you're signed up for the API management webMethods hands-on lab that's happening next week. You can scan the QR code for that. And we also have another event running next Friday for securing your data in the world of AI and cyber. Make sure that you're signed up for that event as well. All right, so if there are no further questions, I'm going to pass it on to Emma, and then she's going to go ahead and close the event.
Thank you so much, Omar. Thank you, Kiro. Everybody, we will stay on for a few more minutes just in the background. So if you are finishing up the lab, have any questions, we'll be here. Continue to put messages in the chat and the Q&A, and we can help you out. After the lab, so later today or early tomorrow, I'll be sending out a link to everybody that contains the recording, the slides, the guide, as well as the upcoming events. In case you want to register for those, I'll include that in the email. So keep an eye out from that for me, and reach out to any of us with any questions after the fact. There were a few questions that I saw come through the Q&A that are a little bit more complicated to answer than in a quick, few minutes. So I'll reach out to you through email about discussing this. But yeah, any last minute questions, put them in the chat. We'll be here. And I also launched a survey. If you don't mind spending just 30 seconds to run through those questions, it helps us improve our content moving forward. So thank you again, everyone.